Boots to asses.
But they are who we thought they were.
What's the problem now?
It's about damn time.
All righty, what's happening, everybody? This is the Philly Experience Podcast. Here with Tyre Hood, Tanner Gilmartin. I'm your host, Max Betzula. It's great to be with everybody tonight. Hope everybody's staying safe. As always, Chris Thacker is unable to be here tonight. He's out of town on vacation, so I hope he enjoys that. Hopefully he'll be back next week. But, guys, I got to tell you a ton of stuff to get to tonight, and we'll start with DeSean Jackson. Some off-the-field issues with him, touch on a lot of contracts throughout the league in the NFL as well. And the Redskins, they're in the news lately, but not for good reason. And we'll end it with the
stupid.
Ben Simmons, no longer the point guard. So that's a big change up there, and we'll see if that leads to any more Sixers success in the future. But, guys, let's start with DeSean Jackson tonight. About a week ago, comes out, says some anti-Semitic posts. And, you know, with everything that's going on in the country right now, just horrible timing. It really is no good timing at all to say anything say anything that he did. But, I mean, I'll throw it to Tanner first on this one, man. What's your reaction when you found out that about these comments that DeSean said?
Well, as you mentioned, he posted an anti-Semitic quote, it wasn't even a real Hitler quote, by the way. They said that it wasn't a legit Hitler quote. And first off, I just want to say, like you mentioned, it was bad timing, and it was obviously in poor taste, and especially just not good timing at all. There's never a good time to say anything like that at all, but especially during what's going on right now with all the current problems. It's just not something you post. It's not even something you should really feel. However, I do appreciate the lengths now that he's taking to make up and apologize. Once he found out that it offended people, he came right out and he apologized. He had a Zoom chat with a Holocaust survivor. I know Julian Edelman suggested that him and DeSean have a meeting and discuss what DeSean did wrong, and he was going to take him around to some memorial museums, Holocaust memorial museums, and DeSean also agreed to visit Auschwitz, obviously when the travel restrictions are lifted. And he also pledged to donate to Jewish community efforts. But what the Eagles did was they fined him for his posts, and going forward, it's obviously going to be a little awkward between both the owner of the team, Jeffrey Lurie, and Howie Roseman, because both of those guys are Jewish. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some mending of the relationship there. And do you guys think that the Eagles handled this situation correctly? I know people are talking about a similar issue that happened years ago with Riley Cooper. Mm-hmm. And Cooper he was at a country concert. He was videotaped actually saying racist comments towards security guards and other people at the event. And he was released later in 2015, but that was not due to this situation. That was due to a down year of play. Yeah. And in 2015, he actually had an extension of 5 years worth, $25 million, $8 million guaranteed. T, I'll throw it to you. Do you think the Eagles handled this situation well, or what do you think the Eagles need to do going forward, and what do you think DeSean Jackson furthermore needs to do?
I do think the Eagles did handle it well because they immediately jumped on the issue. They didn't wait for the issue to grow. They didn't wait for, social media to attack them and be like, hey, your player said this. What are you going to do about it? These things need to be addressed. And on the record, and I'm going to say this right now, I'm never, ever going to be in agreement with somebody saying that one race is greater than another. The issue in today's world, and I don't mean to get outside of the world of sports on this one, but the issue that's going on today, and the reason why the Black Lives Matter movement is even a thing now, is because of the fact that African Americans want equal rights and they want equal opportunity just like everyone else. And I agree. I completely agree with that. Everybody, no matter what your race is, should be equal. Nobody's greater than another. The anti-Semitic post that DeSean Jackson put out there was bad timing. It was horrible. However, I do feel like, that he has learned his lesson and everybody has reached out. Instead of people attacking him, well, common people like us, not particularly us, but common people, period, attacked him for his comments. But, like you said, Julian Edelman reached out and talked to him. He's talked to elder Jewish people and rabbis about, some of the things that he spoke about. And honestly, I wish we had that approach, in everyday life that, that we're going through now. Instead of us attacking each other for the things that we say, let's sit down together, let's break bread, and let's educate ourselves.
Right. Now, T, you mentioned bad timing, and it really does seem like a theme throughout each show. I feel like we're talking about something's bad timing. A few shows ago, we had Bryce Harper commenting, and people said that was bad timing on his contract disputes or playing and money-wise. I just think maybe these players have too much time on their hands now because they're not playing sports, and I think everyone needs to focus more on what they say and how it affects others.
Yeah,
I do agree with that, and that's another thing that I feel as though I need to put out there. Listen, people, and this goes farther beyond athletes. I don't care who you are. You've got to do your research and watch what you post, for crying out loud. Listen, man, it's not cool to just be putting things out there without proper research, without you not knowing 110% what you're doing. You posted things and you quoted the wrong thing from a horrible person. Number one. Then number two, you posted anti-Semitic comments from a minister who is known to have preached about putting one race over another. That's horrible. Listen, that's not the world that we're trying to live in. We're trying to have everybody from all backgrounds equal, not one race above another. I've never agreed with that.
100%. So yeah, I think you hit all the points right there. For me, I disagree though. I don't know if the Eagles handled the situation correctly. Honestly, we all know DeSean is a great player, and I don't know. You guys had your opinion, and me at first I was like, man, let's not lose DeSean here. He brings so much to the table. But then I started to think about what's been happening, and some of the things, some of the things other players have said, and we all talked about the timing here, especially Tanner. It's a great point. And for me personally, I sat there and I was like, this is horrible timing, and with what's going on in our country now, I really thought, after a day, and the Eagles came out, or a day or two, maybe longer, they said they fined them, and I was surprised. I really was, because I thought, even though it was going to be such a hard decision, I thought the Eagles at the end of the day were going to release him just because of the timing and the comments he made. But the Eagles go with the fine, and that's how it ends up. DeSean lucked out, in my opinion. Definitely not the right time to say that ever.
Not at all.
And I feel like cutting DeSean Jackson would also cause more controversy, which the Eagles definitely had to have thought about. For one, you're cutting a player that obviously we didn't get to see play that often last season, and there's fans excited to see him and merchandise sales, and that obviously goes into effect because these guys really just think about money in most ways. But also, as I mentioned, that Riley Cooper situation, they did not cut him after an obvious racist situation. And then to go ahead and cut an African-American player during this time without, sitting down, listening, talking to what was really going through his head. I really do believe that DeSean Jackson meant no harm.
No,
I don't think so.
He's a good guy. He's proved that he's a good guy by the way he donates and goes around the neighborhood and really tries to take care of everyone in the community. and I think cutting DeSean Jackson would have been
A bigger headache.
Yeah, a bigger headache in that way. And I'm not saying that because obviously what he said is offensive, and I don't want to just think bias in a biased way about obviously being an Eagles fan, wanting DeSean Jackson to play. You have to look through it from other fans. I know other fans are saying how could the Eagles keep DeSean Jackson after what he said. So it's
that's
really
part of my opinion, because you heard all the backlash, and I was like, wow, once you hear all these people coming out, it's like if you're an owner, it puts a lot of pressure on you.
And
that's
really
why I thought
a
it would
tough situation.
happen.
Yeah.
Well, once again, you brought up how they handled Riley Cooper in that situation, where he blatantly said a racist comment at the Kenny Chesney concert, and instead of him getting released, the players all rallied around him. Not only did the players rally around him, and he had players like Michael Vick and Jason Avant back him up.
Well,
the Philadelphia Eagles gave him an extension. On top of that,
you mentioned Michael Vick and how the players really they forgave him for that situation. But Michael Vick's brother Marcus, he actually threatened Riley Cooper. He put out a few choice words in Riley Cooper's direction. So there's a lot going on, and for them to 2 years later reward him with a contract extension, albeit he did have a good season that upcoming season, but it's just you got to look at it from multiple ways through the owner's eyes, GM, fans, himself,
100%. Like I think the Riley Cooper situation, even though similar to DeSean as far as the player, the position, and everything like that, but it's one thing to have an opinion, especially with social media. People make mistakes on social media, right? They see something, their eyes pop. It's like, okay, let me throw it out there. Damn, like I didn't mean to do that. Excuse my language. But with the Riley Cooper situation, I think you just get drunk and you just start saying anything. I mean, that's a different story. I mean, you just can't do that, And I'm really surprised at the time that they kept Riley Cooper, and now keeping DeSean Jackson. I mean, listen, if this is a player of less talent, are we sitting here saying, that player, for example, I'm not going to name someone specific, but a player of lesser talent, would he have received the same result as DeSean? I mean,
or even a rookie.
Yeah,
like 100%. Like if it's like a backup offensive lineman, is he still on the team? Is the question.
And that's a huge argument, and it's funny because I have discussions like this with my family all the time, and the reality is the player probably wouldn't be on the squad 9 times out of 10 if I had to take a wild guess. So does DeSean Jackson having DeSean Jackson having value, does that help him in this case? Yes. Mm-hmm. However, in a similar situation with a lesser player, nah, we're not having this discussion. It's an automatic cut.
It can also be compared to he's a football player. What recently just happened by the same thing is Nick Cannon had posted around the same kind of thing that DeSean Jackson posted, and he was fired from his show. And so you can see the difference between players and people on TV. It's just you can see the difference in how they're treated.
Especially athletes. I know we'll talk famous people, but me personally, I think there's levels of famous people. Nick Cannon, I mean, people know of them, but you're talking about DeSean Jackson, you're talking about professional athletes on TV. Mm-hmm. It's just a different ball game with them. And I want to transition now to something on the field. We'll get back to stuff off the field a little bit later in the show, but now we'll transition to on the field with the Eagles. They re-signed Jason Peters, 1-year contract. He's going to play right guard. I know we have different opinions on this, so I'll go to T with this first. T, your initial reaction when you saw and found out that the Eagles are bringing back JP.
Okay, so let's set this scenario up real quick because I'm a little disappointed. So what at first happened, so I had sent you guys something that Brian Baldinger had said.
Yeah, T, thanks for that.
And Baldy had basically said that, hey, the Eagles are going to make a splash this week. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, what's going on? Are we getting Adams? Are we getting are we getting Jadeveon Clowney? Like, hey, I'm getting excited. I'm getting hyped. What's going on? Oh, it's only Jason Peters. That stinks. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like the move. I'm not a fan of the move. And listen, I'm on record of saying that I love Jason Peters, and I do. Outside of Brian Dawkins, he will go down in history as my all-time favorite Philadelphia Eagle. to ever play in a Philadelphia Eagle uniform, bar none. However, this is like the old girlfriend scenario where you go back to what's comfortable for you instead of moving on and exploring other options, even though you know that the relationship's not going to work out. Listen, once again,
good analogy. I like it.
Once again, I love Jason Peters and I love what he brings to the table. However, listen, does everybody remember the false starts? Does everybody remember Jason Peters getting bulldozed on some plays? Okay, he's getting bulldozed by defensive ends who weigh on average from 260 to 280 pounds. Do you really want him going up against guys that average 310 pounds? That's a different end, and you're changing positions. Not only are you changing positions, you're changing sides. This is a whole different ball game. All right, muscle memory is a thing; it exists. Okay, people. Andre Dillard made it sound ridiculous to a lot of people last year, but he didn't to me. As a person who played a little bit of high school football, listen, muscle memory is a thing. That is not going to be an easy transition to go from left tackle to right guard. And you know what? And even back up further my claim, I did some stats, okay? I looked up some stats. All right? I did some Tanner work. I got some stats. All right? So, last year, according to Liam Jenkins of Philadelphia Sports Network, Miles Sanders, his yards per carry up the middle, 6.5 yards. Off the right guard, 4.92 yards. Off the right tackle, 3.3 yards. His yards per carry off of the left tackle was 2.83. That's a problem. I'm not a big fan of Jason Peters coming back. I'm sorry, but I personally think it's complete and utter.
That's ludicrous.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Tanner, you got a counter argument that, or are you going to agree?
I'm going to agree because, as T mentioned, he sent me on Instagram on Saturday. He sent me a post that stated from Brian Baldinger that stated, "I'm hearing whispers about big news coming this week. Birds could be a lot better in mid-July." So I wake up to this message from T.
Well, I'm getting thrown under the bus today.
And I'm thinking, first off, the background picture is Jadeveon Clowney of that tweet that T sent me. So I'm thinking, all right, Jadeveon Clowney, Jamal Adams, or possibly a running back the Eagles get. And then
Yannick Ngakoue would have been nice too.
That would, of course. Then a few days later, what do you know? The Eagles re-signed Jason Peters. Are you kidding me? That was the big news. That was what was gonna make the Eagles a much better team. 38-year-old Jason Peters. He's not even going to be playing he's going to be playing guard, obviously taking over for Brooks, right? Is that what?
Yes.
And Jason Peters, not Jamal Adams, Jadeveon Clowney, Jason Peters. That's the big move. That's going to make the Eagles a much better team.
Well, guys, I have to disagree with both of you. I'm sorry I have to do it.
Of course.
Here's why.
If you attacked Jason Peters relentlessly this past season, I gotta hear this.
I did, but the key about this situation is one thing only. The Eagles didn't bring Jason Peters back to play left tackle. All right? If they were going to do it, they would have done it multiple months ago. But he's going to move to guard, and that's a whole new world. Now, my opinion on this is simple. Him moving to guard, right? Mm-hmm. I personally think every time he walks onto the field, he's the biggest guy. You can make an argument. A few guys in the league match up well with him. But listen, a guard, you know better than I do, offensive, defensive lineman. But when I'm watching on TV, like you said before, multiple shows, when you don't see a guy, an offensive lineman, you don't hear his name, that's a good thing.
Yes.
So I think Peters can step in at right guard. And listen, like you said, the 2.9 or whatever yards per carry Miles Sanders had on the left side last year, Peters had to move. He needed the feet. He needed to move left. He needed to move right and back quickly. You know, you got to have that, agility on the edges as a tackle. On the guard position, you just got to be big. Hold your position. Don't get bulldozed over. And I think if Peters can do that, then we'll be a successful team.
Yeah, that's easier said than done, Max. I mean, not to get bulldoze. Once again, he was getting bulldozed by guys who were between 260, 280 pounds on that left side. Now he's going up against guys that average 310, 315 pounds, and that's all they know how to do is run people over between TE stunts and ET stunts and just relentless bull rushing.
Yeah,
I'm a little nervous about that.
of course. And we're all used to hearing false start, number 71, or offsides. It's just a familiar sound for the past seasons that we're getting used to, and I guess we'll have to hear it again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Quit
See what
yucking my
happens.
yum.
I want to throw this now to the contract situations, both that have been signed and both that haven't been signed. So let's start with the ones that did get signed. I'm going to start with Myles Garrett. He re-signs a massive contract with the Cleveland Browns. 5 years, $125 million.
Woo!
Garrett's been,
Yeah.
famous recently for
Yeah.
his attack on Mason Rudolph with an
Yeah.
object. But listen, I get it. Like, he's still a great pass rusher.
Very.
And here's the thing. I left tackles, pass rushers, quarterbacks, you give them the big contract. I get that. But Cleveland, man, I tell you what, I think Baker's rookie contract plays into this a lot because they're paying him, minimal money. And now they can give these big contracts to other players to surround him. Mm-hmm. But do you guys agree that this is a good move for, Cleveland? I know you got to lock up your talent, but $125 million for, a guy who's been a little I don't know what the call. You never know. One day he's playing well, the next minute he's whacking dudes on the head.
Yeah, I totally agree, Max, because this is a very controversial, to me, extension because of what he was suspended, obviously, for what he did against Mason Rudolph, and then he comes back to not comes back immediately, obviously, but to a contract extension. That's worth a lot of money. I understand there's nothing really
franchise, at least one of them, right?
Low lives.
Yeah, the team didn't really do anything that I'm aware of personally with what he did. I know Baker obviously said a few things post game that you can't do stuff like that, but I feel like there's he's suspended for the rest of the season.
He was suspended indefinitely.
But then to come back and he gets a contract extension, I just feel like it, once again, bad timing.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really the Browns can do. They can't really wait to do it.
Right.
That's just what I think on that bad timing.
If they wait, then you run the risk of him getting interest from another team, and two, you run the risk of you not being able to re-sign him to a deal in which it'll work in your favor with the cap. So,
tell you, let me jump in here real fast. I mean, listen, if they wait a little bit longer, do you think negotiations could have? Now, you don't want to nickel and dime guys, but do you think they could actually negotiate and then maybe cut that to $125 million down to like, I don't know, say 110, 100 million, just based on the fact that when you sign a guy to this contract, he's your face of your franchise, and the lasting memory everybody in the world has of you is you hitting somebody in the head with a helmet. Yeah. Like Tanner, you said, it's bad timing. Yeah. I just feel like, if I'm an Eagles fan and we have Myles Garrett, I'm like, all right, like, yeah, great player, but great player. That's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of commitment to one player. Let's go to the next guy here. Derrick Henry, 4 years, $50 million. I think this is, well deserved. Best running back in football last year. Second best, him and McCaffrey, 1A, 1B. You can argue, but when playoffs came around, Henry really just took over for the Titans. But he well deserved. I thought he was going to play on the franchise tag and throwing a little fantasy knowledge here. You want a little extra motivation if you're drafting them in leagues. But now he gets that big contract. Do you see this guy slowing down anytime soon?
Well, it's a typical stereotype that they're at the top of their career at this age, 25, 26 years old. And then after that, I think right now the contract that he got was perfect for him because after 25, 26, players start to running backs especially start to decline because that's so much that you're putting on your body every season. And then teams, obviously, running backs aren't treated equally compared to other positions because a running back is used and abused because a running back could be great his first few seasons, and then after that rookie contract, you franchise tag. We've seen it done to Le'Veon Bell, who franchise tagged, and he was like, no, I'm not playing for you guys, and then goes to the Jets and gets a lot of money. But that doesn't happen for a lot of players. A lot of players lose their skill after 25, 26, and now this will take Derrick Henry, if he plays well, of course, to to 30 years old, and then after that, what do you do? Honestly, I don't want to predict anything, but Derrick Henry will probably be a free agent after his contract. I feel like there's no way he can keep up with this play.
Yeah, I don't know.
playing.
See, let me say this, and then I throw it to you, T. I think just the way Henry's built is just pure power.
Yeah.
I don't see him dropping his size anytime soon. I feel like as long as he
Right,
maintains
of
his body well, I feel like, you know, and you're right. You know, the length of a running back in the NFL, their time frame and their you know, their life in the NFL is not too long. But I feel like this guy's just built differently. And you know, you talk about Shady McCoy. You know, as the years went on, he maintained it. But you know, once you lose that juke and ability as a quick guy, you know, you kind of fall off.
Yeah, it's the next guy's job then.
Yeah, like if as long as Derrick Henry, you know, he's going to lose his speed. Everybody does as the years go on. But as long as he maintains that power, you know, you give him in goal line situations and things like that, he can maybe – honestly, I'm trying to think of a comparison, and what comes to mind immediately is LeGarrette Blount. Like
That's
at the end of his
exactly
career.
right. Yep.
He's just kind of that bulldozer type of guy who, you know, you can put in the committee with a younger, quick guy, and it could work out for you.
Yeah, we see it all the time. Sorry, T, to butt in, but we see it all the time with running backs who have it the first 2 years and injury causes them to just lose it. Like Jai for an exact example of that. He even lost his speed. His injury. We noticed he lost his speed in that play where he was. You know, he was a runaway train.
Yeah.
Or no, that was whoever
Blount.
that. Yeah, that was Blount. But Jai was running down the field and he was caught.
Got caught.
Cowboys game.
Definitely.
Cowboys game.
Yeah, we all remember that one. But T, yeah, no, let's. Yeah, I forgot. I got to throw it to you here. With Derrick Henry, you think this is a good contract?
Oh, absolutely. And it's like you said, I completely agree with you. See, the thing about me personally, if I were to build a team, I like building a team around big bruiser backs like Derrick Henry instead of elusive backs like LaShawn McCoy, because like you said, I feel as though they last a little bit longer. And you guys gave the example of LeGarrette Blount. I'm gonna give you another example. Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch started off strong with the Buffalo Bills, and he goes on to Seattle, and that's where the legend of beast mode began to take shape. And he was running strong, well into his late 20s.
Yeah. Well, also a guy that we haven't really talked about on the show is Frank Gore, an old head who's still playing, who accepted an offer from another team, and he's still playing.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember a few years ago he was coming to the Eagles, and that didn't go well, but he was, you know, he's still playing. He's still breaking records.
Yeah, 100%. I think one thing I want to mention here with Derrick Henry is 4 years, $50 million. I think this works out well for both sides, but honestly more for the Titans because, you know, he falls into that, $12, $13 million a year range, which, I mean, for what he's produced, especially last season, isn't a whole lot. But I still think he's one of the best running backs in football. The one thing I will say on his downside is he doesn't catch a lot of passes, which is what we're seeing a lot nowadays, you know, with Zeke and McCaffrey, Barkley. You know, you have to have that pass catching ability. So we'll see, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of mentality. If I'm Mike Vrabel and the Titans, you know, I want to just use him right up the middle and keep working it. But, you know, if he can get involved in the passing game more, I think that just brings a whole new element to his game, you know. So we'll see. Well-deserved contract. But let's talk about Mahomes here, and I'll throw it to Tanner first. 10 years, $450 million.
503, yeah.
503 total, $450 million in the contract, 503 altogether with what he has left on his rookie deal. What's your opinion on this contract for the best quarterback in football?
First off, it's a huge contract above Mike Trout and Bryce Harper's contract in baseball. I think it's well deserved. This kid already 2-time Pro Bowler. Super Bowl MVP, league MVP. He's just right now he's on the top of life. Even to mention Club 99 in Madden, this kid is it's a great time to be Patrick Mahomes, and a breakdown of his contract. Of course, if he plays perfect, and like Max mentioned, 503 mil altogether, including bonuses and everything. 1 year, 50 mil. 1 day he's making $137,808, and with just 1 minute, Patrick Mahomes makes $96. $96 a minute.
Man, that's ludicrous.
Wow. Man,
$1
of sleep. Yeah. 8 hours of sleep, man. That's
$1.60 a second.
Yeah. That's something else. T, what do you think about this contract?
I'm sick of this.
Oh my goodness.
Well deserved for Mahomes here.
Oh, you kidding me? Absolutely. Yes, it is well deserved. Half a minute, man, break the bank, give him a blank check. Let him tell you what he wants to get paid, okay?
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes does things on the field that no quarterback I've ever seen in the history of the NFL and the NFL that I've watched so far has done. Okay, and Patrick Mahomes defies everything that you're not supposed to do at the position. Throws across the body. Oh, yeah, he does that with ease. Flick of the wrist, running all around, avoids negative plays. And then here's the crazy part, and we talked about this on a previous show, how when he first became the starter, he didn't know anything about reading defenses.
Yeah.
And he was still lighting up the NFL. Oh, my goodness. Now that he's learning how to read defenses, do you know how much scarier he's going to be? He's going to be a problem. And I don't usually say things like this, but I think he's going to be the modern-day Tom Brady. I hate to say it, but I honestly feel like that.
That's interesting because his game doesn't resemble Tom's, but I guess you're talking Super
You're
Bowl.
talking
I'm talking
publicity
Super Bowl,
and Super Bowl.
I'm talking championship, Super Bowl rings, MVP.
Well, also, I just want to add this was an extension. So this is a 12-year. This is a 12-year deal, a contract. This is one of the biggest contracts we've ever seen. I think this is the biggest contract in football that I've seen. Because earlier there was Donovan McNabb had was it 13? Was that a 13-year
Something
deal?
ridiculous. I don't think he went.
Obviously,
I know he didn't play it out.
He didn't play it out, but there's that was a big deal. But this is the biggest deal that I've seen and been able to dissect. Obviously, this is a team-friendly deal because this spans through 10 years, and we'll be 30 to 40 years old, 30 years, and Patrick Mahomes will, in a likely situation, still be playing on the Chiefs, and that's huge. And obviously, what does this mean for Patrick Mahomes? How does he have to play going forward? How many Super Bowls does he have to win for this to be paid off? Because I'm saying 3. I say 3 Super Bowls. 2. He's got more Super Bowls left in his tank, and he needs to win 2 more for me for this contract to be paid off.
I say 4 to 5, man. You get paid that
4
much.
to 5, T.
Listen, you're talking about a record.
He's talking about comparing Tom Brady, so I guess that would make sense.
That and the simple fact that you're talking about a record-breaking contract in which he's getting paid half of $1 billion. $500 million. Doggone it, if I'm paying you that much, I expect half of those years to be Super Bowl winning years.
4 to 5 is a lot considering you can't win every Super Bowl that you go to.
No,
I guess you could if you're Patrick Mahomes. It seems like he has the best luck. But that means he's going to at least 6 to 7 Super Bowls for UT, and that's what it would take.
Honestly, yeah.
You wouldn't be satisfied if he just wins 2?
No. $500 million, man. I mean, yeah, $500 million I'm paying you. Doggone it. I expect rings, plural. And I'm not just talking 1 ring, 2 ring. I'm talking 3, 4 rings, maximum 5. Like, I'm expecting you to break all kinds of records with this contract. I'm just saying.
Well, T, maybe you need to sit down with the Chiefs office and discuss these thoughts going forward.
Do we know what's hard?
Personally, my opinion on this, that I'll state right now, this is a bad contract. It's a bad contract. It's $45 million a year. And I'm not saying Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Like, don't get me wrong. He's the best quarterback in the league. But I think the guy who runs the show and the reason why this is all a success is one guy, and that's Andy Reid. I think if Andy Reid isn't the head coach of the Chiefs, you put in Matt LaFleur, you put in a bum, and you Joe Schmo in there. I don't think Mahomes or the Chiefs are running on all cylinders. I really think that Andy Reid.
I really think they're going to go there. You don't think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl again?
I think they'll make it to the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll make it to the Super Bowl, right? I do. But I'm looking back on history, and I personally, in my opinion, don't think you need a great quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I think you need a good quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I don't think you need a great one. I think you invest in the O-line. I think you invest in the D-line and pass rush. And, yeah, you need talent. Like, you need guys like Tyreek Hill, and you need guys like Kelsey. You need difference makers Chris Jones just got another nice contract with the Chiefs as well. But $45 million a year, and I get it. I get it. Right now, the Mahomes top of the world right now. But when I sit here and I think, long-term success, right? Look at the Patriots. Did Brady – and I don't know off the top of my head. I don't want to say anything false. But I don't remember Brady ever having a mega contract, right? Even at the end of his career in New England, took less money. So they get guys in there, pay them more.
Yeah.
And that's Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. So I don't know. I love Mahomes. One of my favorite players to watch in the league, no doubt about it. But when I look at this and I look about Super Bowl wins and rings, do I see Mahomes winning 5 Super Bowl rings in the next 10 years? I don't. I just think it's too hard. I really do. I think Lamar Jackson's right there. If John Harbaugh remains the coach there in Baltimore and he gets Lamar's postseason, mind figured out because, he loses his mind in the postseason the last 2 years. If he figures that out, look out for the Ravens too. But again, it's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait. I do think he wins another one. I'm not going to say he doesn't win. I do think he wins another one, maybe 2, like Tanner said. But 4 or 5, I don't think so. I think it's just going to be too tough.
Man, like I said, $500 million, doggone it.
$500 million, T. How you build a team? How you build a team with that?
Yeah,
you invest in one player.
That ain't my problem to figure out. That's Kansas City Chiefs and their fans' problems. I think own
you
issues
guys,
up here.
and maybe Tanner. I don't know. I feel like Tanner's on the fence, but T. Look at a perfect example are our Philadelphia Eagles, right? Nick Foles, guy we just got. He's a backup. He comes in there, we win the Super Bowl. But look at we had a D line, we had an O line that were just dominant. You win in the trenches, that.
And we were also lucky. Let's be honest here. A lot of that was luck.
Don't get them started.
Our secondary, T. Listen, I'll give you all the credit on that one. Our secondary was not good. But we were able to get pass rush. And listen, what won us the game in the end of the day? The pass rush. Exactly.
Yeah, and Tom Brady still lit the defense up for over 500 yards.
Let me ask you this question. You take 3 really great D linemen, or do you take a $500 million quarterback? Which one are you picking?
Oh, defense wins championships. You know me. I'm a defensive guy.
100%. You get Fletcher Cox. You get Myles Garrett in there. You get Yannick Ngakoue. That adds up to $450 million right there. You got the best D line in the league, and you just get a solid quarterback. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like somebody just plug in there, like
Matt Stafford.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan. Somebody that's not great. He's not top 5.
But
he's good enough to win a Super Bowl. Listen, I think if you get to a Super Bowl, Colin Cowherd had a great. I know not everybody's a Colin Cowherd fan. He had a great example the other day. He said, if you're nominated for an Oscar, you're good enough to win an Oscar. If you get to the Super Bowl, you're Matt Ryan. You're good enough to win a Super Bowl.
Bunch of low lifes.
Oh, good.
Well, now to change over to another player that's been in the news lately. You see this contract that Patrick Mahomes received. How does this affect Dak Prescott? And we've seen that so far the Cowboys and Dak Prescott have not been able to set in stone a contract. The Cowboys offered him 33 to 35 million, 100 mil guaranteed, I believe. How does this affect Dak Prescott?
It hurts Dak Prescott a ton, in my opinion. And here's why. I look at one game. I look at the game at the link at the end of last season. That's his game right there. He wins that game, he's in the playoffs. Don't give me the away. He didn't have the home field advantage in Philly, right? I mean, Wentz is thrown to trash bags out there, right? And he still finds a way to get the job done. Dak just didn't get the job done. I don't think he's ever going to win a Super Bowl. And, when you're getting offered $100 million, I mean, any human, if you're offered $100 million, how do you not accept that? Guaranteed money right there. I mean, he really thinks he's worth more than that. He's talking, $35 million a year?
Listen,
I just don't think he's worth that money.
I've said this on 1,000 of occasions. I'm not. I'm an Eagles fan, but I also speak the truth when it comes to other people's teams. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. He is not a great quarterback. Him asking for the amount of money that he was asking for is absolutely ludicrous. It is ridiculous. And guess what? You say the Eagles game is what killed him this past season. I'll take it a step back further. What would have eliminated us from the very beginning, before that game would have even existed and been as big as it was the Bears game. That I think is
Thursday night game in Chicago. You can point that as well.
Yep. That Bears game really killed him.
Off of my last point, I say you need a good quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You called Dak Prescott a good quarterback, so I have to call him a decent quarterback because I don't see him wearing a Super Bowl ring anytime soon. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, Max, you say that, and I mentioned the 33 to 35 million that was supposedly offered to Dak Prescott. That would place him amongst quarterbacks with the same contract, quarterbacks such as Russ, Big Ben, and Jared Goff. Do you think he belongs among those names?
No, and when you left one name off that list there, Jimmy Garoppolo, which I don't agree with either. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't agree with it. And I think that just watching him over the last year, down the stretch, the Cowboys had talent. I know their defense wasn't great, but they had a few guys. They had a few game changers on the defense. Byron Jones, we all know him as a good corner, and DeMarcus Lawrence on the D line. So he had guys. He had Michael Gallup, who I think is underrated as a number 2 receiver in Dallas. Now, CeeDee Lamb wasn't there, but I still think Gallup's a number 2 receiver on that team. And don't give me the Amari Cooper thing in Philly last year. I don't want to hear it. Amari Cooper, yeah, he was banged up a little bit, but the Cowboys on paper, you walk into the link, they're a better team, and they couldn't get the job done. Dak couldn't get the job done. I think, yeah, his mobility helps him, but I don't think he has the deep ball accuracy. And I think he's a dink and dunker, to be honest with you. I haven't seen him really. I know he's won a playoff game or 2. I'm drawing a blank on that one. But to be offered 33, 34 million and your name's in the conversation with Russell Wilson, I mean, please get out of here. Russ is the second best quarterback in the league, in my opinion, right now.
Because that guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Man, I'm just saying.
As an Eagles fan, I'm sitting here annoyed. I mean, geez, let's just drive Dallas in the cap hole right now, man. Just sign that.
Well, I agree. Matter of fact, they already are in the cap hole because they pay Ezekiel Elliott all that money. All right, they paid that offensive line all that money. Not to mention DeMarcus Lawrence, Amari Cooper, and all these other players. There's a reason why they can't really sign any big players anymore. And this is the main reason why, because they've allocated so much money to these other positions. There's a reason why they really, first off, they don't want to play Dak Prescott because, one, they're in cap hell at this point because of Ezekiel Elliott's contract, because that's what's really taking up the bulk of the cap. And 2, they really don't think that he's worth $34 million. And I agree with them. He's a product of the offense.
Now you have frustration stemming from this dispute, as you have Dak Prescott's brother publicly criticizing the Cowboys and mentioning that he's never been a fan of the Cowboys. And after I believe he said this yesterday, he said, after today, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to support the Cowboys or whatever like that. And that's just that's another thing that's going to go in towards I don't know. Dak Prescott mentioned that he's happy to be a Cowboy. And it doesn't seem like he is very frustrated. He hasn't shown that he's frustrated, but family members and other people are.
Right. Listen,
I'll talk to you like this, man. Anybody that's a fan of the Cowboys, I think you're just an absolute despicable person with no heart. All right. But that's just me personally. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, you guys are making great points. I try to look big picture here. It's about winning Super Bowls, right? It's not about fantasy football stats blowing up the stat sheet. It's not about getting to the playoffs, but losing in the first round. It's about Super Bowl rings. Mahomes, yes. You look at Mahomes, you're like, the Super Bowl talent, no doubt. My opinion, 45 mils may be a little too much. Again, like I said earlier, I'm not nickel and diamond here. I mean, if you pay the guy $40 million, just give him the biggest contract. He's the best player. If you want to top Russell Wilson's, of course, with 38 mil, but 45 is just a little too much for me. But fine, you're going to give him that money, give him the money. Dak, on the other hand, for me personally, I look at a situation, in my opinion, that I can point to and say, okay, this is a great example, is the Browns situation right now, Baker Mayfield. Me personally, I look at Baker Mayfield and I say, this guy's not going to win a Super Bowl. I know as a GM, you don't want to say, oh, I got to cut Baker right now because you don't want to look stupid in the number 1 overall pick that you used on him. But it's about winning Super Bowls. And with all this talent around Baker Mayfield, he can't even make the playoffs last year with Odell and Jarvis and, the list goes on and on. So if you're looking at Dak Prescott and you say, is this guy going to be able to win us a Super Bowl, right? Yet I don't think he had Super Bowl talent on that team last year, but to not even reach the playoffs, I mean, this stuff, in my opinion, it's eye-opening. If you can't make the playoffs with the talent you had in Dallas and the division, I mean, geez, look at the division that he played in last year. It was a bunch of junk. And no disrespect to us, but on paper, I'm talking to you. On paper, Dak should have went to the playoffs last year, and he didn't. And as an Eagles fan right now, it's like I wish he signed a contract, because then, Carson
Yeah,
Wentz
right on.
Carson gets to beat up on him for the next, 10 years.
Yep. Yep.
So I think Dak's going to be a free agent, and I think at this point, people with teams with a quarterback that they think internally think they can't get to the Super Bowl with, I think you cut your losses. I don't have a degree. I'm in sports management here. I'm not a GM, but if I'm sitting in the front office and I see my quarterback and I'm like, the eye test, is this guy going to win a Super Bowl? I just think you got to cut your losses, and the quicker you do it, the quicker you cut the cord, and the less time you drag it out, the better you can turn over your team. Because I think the key to winning a Super Bowl is you get a quarterback who's really talented on a rookie deal, or at least a smaller contract than a mega one, and then you build around them like we've seen teams do before, and really give mega contracts to maybe a left tackle or the D-line, O-line. Again, Zeke, another thing with the running backs. Why are teams giving these running backs $100 million contracts? Their lifespan is so short. I know you need a talented RB, but look at our team, the Super Bowl season. You had Garrett Blount, you had Corey Clement, you had guys. If you're a national viewer and you're a Seattle Seahawks fan and you're watching the Super Bowl, you're like, who in the world is Corey Clement?
Right.
But this guy's catching touchdown passes in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. Now, I know we're running low on time, but I want to get into the Eagles games and how the coronavirus will affect the attendance and how it'll affect the Eagles. Mm-hmm. So the mayor of Philadelphia, he released a statement that the city will prohibit large gatherings and events through February 28th, 2021. So this, after seeing this, I assume that this also meant Eagles games and stadiums and stuff like that. But the Eagles yesterday released a statement to season ticket holders that said that it did not include the Eagles stadium because it was privately owned. And going forward, they're setting a plan ahead. But to me, I'll tell you, as someone that recently acquired season tickets last year before all this happened, obviously I would my dad would not have acquired these season tickets. But so you see everything with the coronavirus. They're cutting down attendance to half the attendance. For me, I still would probably not attend these games because the link can hold 68,532 people, and half that attendance would be 34,266 people. That is still way too many people to be in attendance. They said that obviously not all those people would be season ticket holders, so it'd be less. They would spread it out. But I just don't think this is going to be approved. I don't think that if the NFL does play, personally, I don't think we're going to have an NFL season either. But if the NFL does play, I do not think that fans will be in attendance. And I'll tell you that'll really affect the way that the Eagles defense plays, because I found a stat that mentioned over the last 5 years, the Eagles have drawn the most pre-snap penalties at home with 126.
Wow.
So this would greatly affect with no fans. Obviously, the fans would not be able to affect the quarterback and the snap. So it'll be a huge difference maker.
That's an impressive stat right there.
At the link. Yeah,
diving deep into the book on that one, but geez, I didn't know that.
That's good Tanner work right there, man.
It is. It really is, and I really do feel for season ticket holders. As somebody who doesn't love, I wouldn't go to every single game. It's just not that it's a hassle. It's just something that for me personally, I go to like one or two. But for season ticket holders in general, diehards, and I am one. But it really does suck. You want to get down there, you want to see the games. Obviously, safety comes first, but
just not worth it.
I do agree, and I think, and Tanner makes a good point there. I do think that we're going to be one of the teams that it affects the most, because we've all been at the link. We know how loud it gets inside there, especially when we're on defense. You can't even hear the person next to you, and all of the music that gets, that the third down bell that rings and the Rocky music playing. It's a lot of fun, and it gets the crowd really loud. And of course, like you said, Tanner, a lot of pre-snap penalties. And a lot of, just getting off the field, a lot of 3-and-outs we've seen in the past. So it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough.
And there's a lot of questions going forward, especially for the NFL. I know recently before the show, J.J. Watt mentioned how they have so many more questions on what's going to happen and how they're going to be protected. I know Oakley was planning to come out with a shield for the helmets, but that would also affect players' visibility and breathing. So there's still a lot to go forward, and it just doesn't make me confident that there will be an NFL season with a lot still on the table as questions, and who will play and where they will play and if fans will attend.
Yeah, I think, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. If the NFL season does happen, do you think they're going to pull something? I don't think you can pull something as far as just having one location like the NBA did in Orlando.
No.
Might be tough, but do you see, maybe, 8 stadiums on the West Coast, 8 stadiums on the East Coast, or maybe something like that?
And so I don't think it's going to be that kind of a scenario. So the scenario you're kind of describing is how college football is going to be played. Everything is going to be played within conference.
Right.
There's not going to be no out of conference games. It looks like. I know so far the Big Ten and a couple other conferences have confirmed that. But in the NFL, I don't think that's how it's going to be, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe most of these teams have private charter planes, if I'm not mistaken. So they would be traveling privately, and I guess whatever hotel they're in, I guess it would have to be, cleaned out thoroughly and inspected and things of that nature.
I believe what I saw is that teams will not be taking a plane, and they will all have to take a bus.
That's a heck of a bus ride, man.
Yeah.
Wow. And they're going to play out their same schedule, right? The schedule that was released, or
that's still up in the air, I guess. You can't. For me, that you have to have a plan, like Max said, with 8 on one side, 8 on the other. You can't, because there's going to be obviously these stadiums are in different states, and different states have different limitations. And I know California is basically shut down.
Right.
And so if this happens in the middle of the season, which they're predicting the cases will rise.
Right.
There's going to be teams that won't be able to play that game because they won't be able to go to the stadium, and there's going to be a lot going forward. So I think you do have to do what Max said, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't. You could also do, region like we've seen in baseball do. Where the Eagles will play like the Steelers, the Redskins, the Giants, maybe even the Patriots, and kind of stay in the region bubble, so to speak. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. There's really a ton of options they could choose. I think MLB did a pretty good job, honestly, with how they handled it, and everybody's kind of staying, in their own little area.
Well, that's going to be important to see how NHL, the NBA, the MLB are doing with cases, and if there's any outbreaks, because now the NFL's in a position where they really can just sit back and see how these other leagues either succeed or fail. And honestly, what I see happening is the NFL pulling the plug on the season. And I know none of us want to see that, and that's going to be hard for us, because what are we going to talk about?
Right.
But I think that that's a big possibility.
It's going to be tough. Listen, I think that NFL is probably the one sport where, it's contact and the guys bumping into each other like every single play.
Sweat, spit, all the time.
And I think you can't have it in domes. You want to let the, all of your, I guess your breath, everything where it goes up, and you don't want to have it crammed, in a dome or things like that. So even those little ticky-tack things get brought up. But I'll make the one NHL point of the night here, with Chris not being here. But they moved the
He's not your cup of tea.
They moved the locations of the season to Canada. So the West Coast will play in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The East Coast will play in Toronto on the East Coast. So we'll see how that works. NHL, they kind of have the visors / masks already. So
Quit yucking my yum.
Plays out, but
now is that slated? Is that slated for an August 2nd?
August 1st is slated as the first.
Okay.
So I think, NHL, it obviously contact sport as well, but I think with kind of that shield already in place, it might work out well. I think NHL might have the best advantage as far as having the cases limited, but it's going to be weird too. You got to think about things like if Mahomes gets COVID, no one's rooting for that, and but you're thinking about those things. If he does, or Russell, for example, then that kind of just messes up the whole season. Like does the best team really win at the end of the day? Or
right.
give them the best shot? And I'm not saying the best team wins even when everybody's healthy. But, you got to think it'll definitely play a factor.
It's the same thing we talked about last show with the NBA. Whoever comes out of this, whoever wins, the championship ultimately, do we really count that?
You know what? I've been thinking about this, and since we're transferring over to the NBA topic, if whoever wins this season is a champion, because each team going into this is obviously you're going in to win, and
Right.
so if you win, you're a champion, and I guess the sore losers could be like, it doesn't count because they lost. But for me, each team, you're playing with the same limitations, your same situation, same stadium. You're all dealing with the same things. So I feel like whoever wins this season will still be considered a champion.
What if LeBron gets COVID-19 in a week and he can't play throughout the first couple weeks?
Whether it's the coronavirus or not, each day you're risking getting sick by something. Players get the flu. Michael Jordan got the flu. He still played, however. But, whether it's the coronavirus or not, you could get an injury off the court. We saw that with, I believe it was John Wall. Was it John Wall? He fell down the stairs.
John Wall. Yep.
You could be just I forget who the player was, but he tripped over his kid's toy. Anything could happen, not basketball related. That everyone has to deal with that. If you get sick, you get sick. It's whether you took the right precautions or not, and you were careful enough.
I agree with what you're saying, and I totally understand it. Say Kawhi and LeBron get sick, and the Nuggets go to the finals, and the Nuggets win the finals. Are the Nuggets the best team in the league?
Well, no. We all know that the Nuggets aren't the best team in the league, even if because
that's my whole point. The Nuggets are not. Yeah, they're champions.
Top 5 players just went out with a sickness, so obviously, no, the Nuggets aren't necessarily going to be the best team.
That's the point.
Well,
I'm
listen,
making here.
When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, were they the best team in the league?
I think they were. I think they were. I really do.
On paper,
I think if they played again the next night, the Eagles will win. You get the same result.
On paper, if fully healthy, you can make the argument.
Yeah. On paper,
it felt like the Eagles weren't going to lose. I mean, the whole playoff run. I never sweated in the Super Bowl. I never sweated. I didn't. I didn't.
People.
Listen, it's almost like Mahomes. And I'll give you a perfect example in that playoff game against the Texans when he's down 24-0. I'm not sweating at all. I'm like, the Chiefs are going to win this game. They got Pat Mahomes. It's too early in the game for him to lose. It's like the Eagles.
That is blasphemy.
In my head, I'm like, I watched this team all season long, and I'm not nervous at all. I just never felt like we were going to lose.
How about when Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl against it was the Broncos, and they lost? Were the Broncos the best team in the league with Peyton Manning under center, or were the Panthers were the best team in the league?
Now listen, I see your point there, but listen, T, and I think I hope you back me up on this one. Defense and Von Miller in that game. Denver's defense, Chris Harris Jr., Von Miller, Keith Talib. I mean, look at that whole unit there. It's like the second coming of the Legion of Boom there. So I'm not going to just hand the Panthers best team in the league, but I understand what you're saying. We just got different opinions.
Yeah. Everyone's dealing with the same thing to me, and everyone's dealing with the possibility of getting the coronavirus in the NBA, and it seems like they're taking the right precautions. They're all in the bubble. Some players haven't followed the bubble per se. We have the snitch hotline in effect.
It's ridiculous.
Holmes actually left the bubble to get who knows what he got. Could have been McDonald's food. Was it worth it?
Could have been Taco Bell.
Yeah, to be in a now 14-day quarantine. You're not able to practice with your team.
Well, no disrespect to Rashawn Holmes, but not a huge loss for the Kings. I'll just say that.
Wow.
And then you have a player that got snitched on in Dwight Howard who wasn't wearing a mask, and somebody called the hotline, another player.
You piece of Swiss cheese!
Or possibly an employee. I don't know how it works over there, but he got snitched on for not wearing a mask. Yeah, and he's a player that wasn't quite sure if he wanted to be a part of the NBA restart.
Yeah,
bunch of low lifes.
It's just not having any self-discipline right there. But I will say this: as a guy who played travel basketball as a kid, staying in your overnight hotels with all your buddies on the team, it's almost like a little playground for all the NBA guys. I mean, I heard Kemba came out in an interview earlier today or yesterday and said, he's walking downstairs to get some food, and he sees the LeBron just walking around. Like, when's the last time LeBron's walking around a hotel ever? I mean, it's
Right.
since he was like playing, AAU ball when he was 9 or 10 or whatever.
It's got to be crazy for these employees who are working at this hotel.
Definitely. I mean, you see LeBron just walking out of his room. He's got a robe on, just chilling, hanging out like it's his own house.
It's about damn time.
And Joel Embiid said that he was perfectly fine playing video games, but he also did not think that other players were going to be able to follow the protocol.
I saw this one thing in these ballrooms. They're setting up NBA courts, but they're setting them up just like how they would for each team, just how the court would look if they were home. And they're setting them up right next to each other. It was weird. I saw a picture of the Heat's court was literally like 6 feet away from the Pacers court. They had the home, markings and the paint and all that on it. It's pretty cool.
I think this will be a lot more entertaining than if it was a regular NBA season because these guys are living with each other now.
Yep.
Now I did hear about them getting mic'd up. I don't know if that's such a good idea.
Ooh, no, you're going to hear some words that ain't appropriate to hear.
The league said they might play the games on like a 20-second delay so they can edit things out. But
it's going to be sort of like an all-star game. Every game.
Every 10 seconds you can hear like a beep or a beeped out or something.
You're going to be like this.
What the is that?
Yeah. But listen, I think you still pick up things too because you'll be in indoors and you won't have any crowd noise. So you can kind of hear whistle blowing, clear as day.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of weird.
Sneakers squeaking and all that.
But hopefully it just gets through because I feel like I'm kind of nervous if 1-2 players get the virus and then everything gets shut down. So we'll see how long it goes through, but I want to end the point on this. Ben Simmons moving to power forward is the rumor here for the upcoming season restart, and Shake Milton now getting the point guard duties. I sat here on the show last week, 2 weeks ago, and said, are we going to see the same old Sixers, or is there going to be different plays, different motions run? Do you think this change could be a start of something that, we can see some changes, a start of something new with the Sixers squad?
No, I like this change. To his position. I think that's where he should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, I agree with that 100%. I think what we were doing earlier in the year wasn't working. I mean, we definitely should have been higher up than 6th in the Eastern Conference. And Shake Milton, we point to that West Coast trip, that Clippers game that he had on a Sunday afternoon a few months back, dropped like 38, I think, or something ridiculous. So he's got the talent. And the thing is, my question, when I think about the Sixers in general, Ben Simmons with no fans, open gym, just kind of, 5-on-5, playing pickup almost in his head. Is this guy going to shoot threes, or is he still going to be nervous with all those viewers watching on TV?
And that is my main thing with him moving to power forward. Power forward is one of those positions where, dude, you must shoot the damn ball. And that's my biggest thing. I have no problem with Shake Milton being the point guard, especially how, towards, the coronavirus hitting the season, how he was playing for the Sixers. However, Ben Simmons, this does not help the team at all if he does not shoot that rock, for crying out loud. Yeah. And I've been watching interviews, where the players will be like, he's shooting more things. I think Brett Brown said he's shooting more threes in practice than he did during the season. What they freaking do? It's practice. I need to see him shoot the J during an actual game, not just one J.
We've been talking about this
J's, man,
since we were back at Monaco Studios, man.
Yes.
We've been at this for a while, so we're still talking about the same thing. Hopefully we can see him take a few jump shots, but I got to tell you what, Shake Milton, man, this guy burst onto the scene, and if he can play the way he did before, right before the season, got postponed for a little while, if he can pick up that play that he had, this team could make a run. And Al Horford now is moving to the second unit. I'm assuming it's going to be Shake, Jay Rich, Tobias, Ben, and Joe, the starting 5, and then you have Al come off the bench with Furkan and Matisse Thybulle, guys like that. So I do like the rotation, but it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. But if you guys want any more points, man, let's shut it down. It was a good show.
Yo, definitely. Always enjoy doing it with you guys. All right. You guys missed any of this episode, you can always go to philly-experience.simplecast.com. Available on all major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, the whole shebang. We also do a live stream on Twitch as well, just about every other Thursday. Hopefully with sports coming back, we may be able to do it every Thursday, but that remains to be seen. Oh, by the way, we also have an Instagram account. Follow us.
Yeah. Yep. The Philly Experience Podcast. Yes. Right there on Instagram now.
There was no excuse as to why, you shouldn't be getting your fix of Philly Experience Podcast because we're gonna throw it right in your faces.
Always. Shout
And
out
hey-
Vinny Velasquez too, by the way, guys. Hopefully he can go more than like 4 innings and he starts this season.
Hey guys, wear a mask. All right,
Yeah.
if you don't wear a mask, you're worse than a Cowboys fan.
For crying out loud, people, wear a damn mask. I'm sick of this damn coronavirus. Please. Jeez.
You
All right,
dumb.
stay safe, everybody.
You know it's hard. Because that guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
I want Mason Joy hurt.
I'm not giving Jerry Jones my money. That guy.